It's kind of strange when you think about it. We have more access to pleasure than any other time in human history. Amazing food, endless entertainment, constant connection, it's all right there at our fingertips. So why is it that so many of us feel more anxious, more overwhelmed, and just stuck? That's the huge paradox of modern life, and we're going to dig into the science of what's really going on inside our heads.
Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever found yourself mindlessly scrolling through a social media feed, or reaching for another sugary snack, or maybe taking another hit from a vape long after that first buzz is gone? You know deep down that it's not actually making you feel good anymore, but for some reason you just can't seem to stop. So what is going on there?
Well, here's the thing. The answer isn't that you have no willpower or that there's something wrong with you. It's all about brain chemistry. See, our brains have this ancient reward system that evolved to help us survive in a world where things were scarce. But now, it's been completely hijacked by our modern world of nonstop abundance. This isn't your fault. It's just how our brains are wired to react.
All right, so to really get a grip on this, we need to understand just how big this problem is. We are, as the psychiatrist Dr. Anna Lembke puts it, living in dopamine nation. And trust me, the numbers are pretty shocking.
Take a look at this number, 8 hours and 5 minutes. Back in 2021, that was the average amount of time adults in the US spent on digital media just for entertainment, every single day. That's literally a full-time job, not even counting our actual jobs. It just goes to show you how deeply woven into our lives these behaviors have become. And here's the crucial thing to understand. Our modern world has basically drugified normal, everyday things. Those ultra-processed foods, they are scientifically engineered to be impossible to resist. Social media feeds, they use the same tactics as a slot machine to keep you hooked and scrolling. Vaping delivers nicotine faster and more efficiently than ever. We've basically taken regular stuff and supercharged it to be potent, addictive, and available 24/7. So how exactly does this drugification mess with our brains? It all starts with a really core principle of how our brains work. And the best way to understand it is with a simple analogy. A seesaw. At its core, our brain is obsessed with one thing: balance. The technical term is homeostasis. The key thing you need to know is that pleasure and pain are processed in the same parts of the brain, and they act like two sides of a scale. The brain is always trying to keep that scale perfectly level. This drive for balance is the key to everything else. So Dr. Lembke has this great way of picturing it as a teeter-totter. When you do something that feels good, say eat a donut or get a bunch of likes on a post, the teeter-totter slams down on the pleasure side. But your brain can't just let it stay there. To get things back to level, it has to push down on the pain side. She imagines these little neuroadaptation gremlins literally jumping onto the pain side to bring things back into balance. And this is exactly how the cycle of addiction starts. The more you hit that pleasure button, the weaker that initial good feeling gets. That's tolerance. But at the same time, those little gremlins on the pain side, they get stronger, and more of them show up. So that feeling after, the crash, the anxiety, the craving, it gets way more intense and lasts a lot longer. Pretty soon, your whole teeter-totter is permanently tilted towards pain. You're in what's called a dopamine deficit state, and now you need your fix not to feel good, but just to feel normal.
Okay, now for the second huge piece of the puzzle. This one is a real game changer because it busts a massive myth about dopamine that, once you get it, explains so much. For years, we all called dopamine the pleasure molecule, right? Well, it turns out that's not quite right. Dopamine isn't about pleasure itself. It's the chemical of motivation. It's the wanting. It's that urge, that craving, that drive to go get something. The actual feeling of pleasure, the liking, that's handled by totally different chemicals in your brain, like opioids. And this right here is why you can desperately want something you don't even like anymore.
The researchers who figured this out put it perfectly. They said the real core of addiction is this crazy amplification of wanting, without any real change in liking. Your motivation system goes into overdrive, creating this intense, illogical craving that has absolutely nothing to do with how much you actually enjoy the thing. And this chart shows you the trap in action. It's pretty stark. As you keep doing that high dopamine thing, the pleasure you get from it, the liking, either stays the same or more often goes down. But that craving, the wanting, it just skyrockets. This is the perfect recipe for feeling miserable. You're obsessively chasing something that doesn't even make you happy. So that's the problem, and that's the science behind it. And yeah, it can sound pretty bleak. But here's the really good news. Our brains can change. They're plastic. So let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about how we can take back control and reset this whole system.
Now, you've probably heard people throwing around terms like dopamine detox or dopamine fast. First off, the name is kind of misleading. You can't, and you definitely shouldn't, get rid of all your dopamine. What it really means is taking a break, a period of abstinence from whatever your specific problem behavior is, usually for about 4 weeks. That's the amount of time your brain needs to clear out all those gremlins and get that teeter-totter back to a nice, level state of balance.
So what does this actually look like in real life? It's basically a two-part plan. On one side, you cut out or at least dramatically reduce those high dopamine, easy access things that are causing the problem. On the other side, you start intentionally doing more things that give you a healthier, more sustainable dopamine release. We're talking about things like exercise, getting some sunlight in the morning, having real, face-to-face conversations, or picking up a creative hobby. These things help your brain remember how to enjoy the simple pleasures again.
And this brings us to a really cool scientific idea called hormesis. It sounds fancy, but the concept is super simple and pretty powerful. It's the idea that by intentionally putting yourself through mild stress, by pressing on the pain side of the teeter-totter, your brain bounces back by tipping toward pleasure. This is why a really tough workout or even a cold shower can give you this amazing long-lasting dopamine boost, but without the crash you get from chasing easy pleasure. You're basically paying for your dopamine up front with a bit of effort.
So what's the big takeaway here? Our brains were never designed for this world of constant, effortless comfort. They were built to get a deep sense of reward from overcoming challenges. So the way out of this dopamine trap isn't to just deny ourselves pleasure. It's about rediscovering the incredible, lasting satisfaction that only comes from doing hard things. It's about resetting our brains so we can find joy not in the easy hit, but in the effort it takes to live a truly fulfilling life.